U.S. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth just made a formal visit to the Dominican Republic and hosted a joint press conference with President Luis Abinader. I'm going to show you the most interesting statements from each of them and break them down with my analysis, starting with President Luis Abinader.
Dominicans, our country faces a real threat. A threat that does not recognize borders, that does not distinguish flags, that destroys families, and that has been trying to use our territory as a route for decades. That threat is drug trafficking, and no country can or should confront it without allies. And for this reason, I want to inform you that we have agreed with the United States to temporarily expand cooperation to strengthen air and maritime surveillance against drug trafficking. These actions are supported by our laws and the accompanying agreements. In 1995, President Joaquin Balaguer signed a maritime and air interdiction agreement with the United States. That agreement was expanded by an amendment protocol in 2003. These instruments establish clear rules that require that all operations be carried out with prior authorization and direct support from Dominican authorities, the Ministry of Defense, and the National Drug Control Directorate. Their scope is technical, limited, and temporary. Within this framework, I announced to the country that we have authorized the United States, for a limited period of time, to use restricted areas at the San Isidro Air Base and Las Americas International Airport for the logistical operation of refueling aircraft, transportation of equipment, and technical personnel. The purpose is clear: to strengthen the ring of air and maritime protection maintained by our armed forces, a decisive reinforcement to prevent the entry of narcotics and strike transnational organized crime more forcefully. This strengthens our sovereignty over all areas of the national territory, and thanks to this synergy with our most important strategic partner, the United States, we are reinforcing the surveillance and operational capacity of our armed forces. We will work tirelessly to close all criminal routes and drastically reduce the corrupt influence of drug trafficking cartels. We will be wherever necessary to combat this universal scourge. And in this way, we honor this government's commitment to providing security to the population. Because security is not just the absence of threats, it is the firm, legitimate, and timely presence of the state wherever the protection of citizens requires it.
Here's why what he just said was significant. And sorry about the AI voice. You're going to hear it when I show you Pete Hegseth as well. It's easier for me to listen to it in English because I can miss some things in Spanish. As you heard, the president of DR has essentially said, look, we're going to offer you a couple of spaces in country in restricted areas, San Isidro Air Base and at Las Americas Airport, for the United States to operate militarily, refuel, handle logistics, or whatever it might be. Essentially becoming a temporary military hub for whatever the conflict is to come with Venezuela and narcotics in general. There's a couple of things here that I think are important. Number one, he said temporary. Now, easily we can make the assumption that temporary becomes permanent. I get it. Trust me, it goes through my mind as well. But the fact that he even said temporary, I think is placing emphasis on, look, we're not going to become a base of operations for the United States militarily, like in Japan and Germany and so many other places around the world. But look, we are going to support the U.S. in this because from a government perspective, this government doesn't support Venezuela either. And I will say this about narcotics. Is it a trafficking problem coming through DR? Absolutely. There's not really a cartel presence at all in Dominican Republic. Some argue there is, but there isn't. But as a pass-through, it has had its issues in the past. That said, in 2025, the amount of drugs seized by the Dominican government is more than double any other prior year, which goes to show you that DR is already postured toward an anti-narcotics, anti-drug trafficking policy, which one, prompts the United States to say, hey, that might be our best partner in the region, hence the visit from Hegseth. But two, it makes these two countries very much aligned on policy in terms of drug trafficking. Look, you can think what you want. Abinader is independently wealthy. This guy doesn't need to have a drug trafficking thing like you do in Venezuela or Mexico or Colombia, which I know many of the heads of states there are accused or proven to be somehow involved in the narcotics trade. So the value of DR providing this sort of support to the US militarily is winning favors with their big brother. In this region, US is king. In the world, US is the sole superpower. Now, many believe that that's a dangerous thing, like, oh, you're stooges for the United States. And I don't disagree. However, let's be realistic about how it all works. Any superpower, whoever it might be, is going to call the shots. So who do you want calling those shots? US? China? Russia? The point is, I understand the history of US intervention, even in the Dominican Republic in the past. It's not pretty in many ways. And I understand that many are concerned about further US commitment or intervention around or in the Dominican Republic or in the Caribbean in general. But the realist in me says, pick your poison. And maybe because I am American, who knows? But I think that's the best poison. And I mean, by a mile. China, Russia, I mean, come on. Now, the other thing I heard in his statement was literally just, here's space for you to do what you need as you set up operations for whatever you're gonna do in and around Venezuela. I didn't hear commitments of any DR military presence or anything more than, here's some space close by that you can use, temporarily. Now we'll flip it over. Let's hear what Pete Hegseth had to say.
We must confront narco-terrorists and their illegal activities with strong and swift action. This is the only language they understand, force and swift action to keep our citizens safe and ensure that our countries continue to prosper. And on drugs, as you and we in the United States know, it's also about saving lives, ending violence, saving lives. Tens of thousands of American lives will be saved by the efforts of President Trump, our military, your country, and this partnership. And 3, the Dominican Republic has emerged as a regional leader, prepared and willing to face difficult challenges. That's why I'm here today. That's why we decided to come here first, because we recognize the leadership of your president and of this country. That includes standing up to the predatory practices of other countries and leading. Yes. We've also discussed that. The Dominican Republic has acted, and we trust that the Dominican Republic will continue to lead in the fight against the narco-terrorists that the president so clearly explained. The President of the United States, President Trump, has designated them as terrorist organizations, drug trafficking organizations, that intend to bring violence and drugs to the countries of the region and to the American people. And I want those who are watching us, those who see the narco-terrorist boats that are being attacked, to understand that we take this mission extremely seriously, but we also take the manner in which we carry it out extremely seriously. We have the best intelligence, the best lawyers, the best process. So we know that within these networks and these organizations, we know where they come from, where they are going, what they bring, what their intentions are, who they represent, and by understanding that, we understand when it comes to waging war against the narco-terrorists, and we do it offensively in a way that changes the dynamic for the entire region, and we believe that this brings security and stability to our partners. I want to thank you, Mr. President, for supporting what is a provisional deployment of U.S. troops and aircraft conducting Operation Southern Spear, a provisional one, always respecting your sovereignty and your laws, your dynamics here in the Dominican Republic. It is a great partnership, and it is truly a joint initiative between our countries against narco-trafficking and narco-terrorism. I think it is a model for the region, a model that we hope to expand with other countries that want to partner with us to ensure that the narco-terrorists who have terrorized our organizations, our countries, that they get the message that we are partnering with more countries, with more forces to stop them. The Department of War will be with you, working with you for your mutual benefit. And I think that this is an important difference in the way we operate. It is not just about what you need, what we need, but what we can do together aggressively, using the assets and advantages that we have to address the most pressing issues of the moment. We support you, Mr. President, as you address this challenge, and we want to put an end to this threat.
All right, so here's what I heard. I'm going to bullet it out real quick, then we'll talk a little deeper. DR has emerged as a regional leader. We recognize the leadership of this country. We came here first. The DR will continue to lead in the fight against narco-terrorists, and this partnership appears to be a model for the region. All right, as I say all the time on this channel, I can only share with you my own perspectives and my own experiences. And what is that? I'm an American who's decided to move to the Dominican Republic, and I've spent a little over three and a half years here. Talk to me at year 5, year 8, year 12. My perspectives may shift, but here's my thoughts. This is a very good move by the Dominican Republic. What's going to happen in Venezuela is going to happen. And while I understand the, U.S. is always getting involved in many other things, there's a few things that come to mind. Number one, I'm wondering how much of this is posturing. We can all agree that Trump has an ego, right? And what's funny to me is those who hate Trump because of his ego will vilify that ego for anything bad he does, but won't then acknowledge that his ego may prevent him from doing something else. Here's what I mean. You don't think his ego wants a Nobel Peace Prize? Obama won it, honestly, for doing nothing. I don't think anybody would disagree. He won an election and got the Peace Prize. Blows my mind. He wants that Peace Prize. He's been going around touting as the guy that ends wars, and he's done it. I mean, even the most staunch Trump critic, hell, Hillary Clinton came out after the Gaza-Israel ceasefire and said, hey, kudos to President Trump and his team. Many Democrats admitted Biden and Harris couldn't have done it. In fact, I've never heard anybody say that, if they were there, they would have done it. So clear acknowledgement that he ended that. He's ended many other conflicts between different nations that are less public or less mainstream in the United States. And now I think Ukraine-Russia is inevitably going to come to an end. We'll see what happens with that, but he's going to tout all of this. Now, on the other end of that, I do believe that the U.S., if they are the superpower, they do need to display strength. I was not a fan of what happened in Iran, the bombing, before it happened. Afterward, I was like, pretty brilliant. He forecasted it. He went in and told them what they were going to do. He even gave them a soft target to hit to retaliate so that they can assuage any fear amongst their people that Iran was, too weak or whatever. Is that something that's happening here? Is it this big show of strength to get Maduro to his knees so that there's never an attack, or is it extremely targeted, no U.S. troops on the ground? I don't know. But either way, what's going to happen is going to happen. And I don't believe the U.S., I don't believe Trump, because I'm with you. He's got a big ego and he wants his Peace Prize, is going to go full bore. Let me know in a few days how that content ages. Could be completely wrong. Again, just my thoughts. And I do need to acknowledge this at this point. There are many of you that are saying, I'm unsubscribing from you, and then you announce it down below because I mentioned Trump without saying he's evil. Do me a favor. Don't treat me like an airport. I don't need announcement of departure. Just go. I stand down the middle. I think Trump has done some good things. Trump has done some bad things politically. I'm not so weak as to let a person define whether I feel good or feel bad about life. I'll make my own life, whether Biden or Harris are president, Mamdani is mayor of New York, Trump is president of the United States, doesn't matter. I'll find my way. And many of you will too. In fact, if that resonates with you, like, hey, no politician defines my success, and you feel like me, that too many people get in their feelings about these individuals who are all politicians, why would you trust any of them? Drop down below. I'm an independent thinker. You know who you are. You're the ones that don't comment. Like I don't comment on YouTube videos. Say it down below. Let me know you're out there. So I said this is a good move for DR because, again, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. So why wouldn't you want to be on the good side of Big Brother? What I was wondering about this press conference was whether or not there would be any concessions for DR in exchange for what they're offering. And on a live video, I shared a few different options. Could they lower the threat advisory for travel to make it a level 1 versus level 2? That would help tourism. Could they provide other maritime support, defense, that sort of thing to the Dominican Republic? Might it be some commitment on semiconductor production, a portion of it at least being done here in DR? And the granddaddy of them all is, hey, can you help us with Haiti? Pressure on the UN, military funding, whatever it might be. But hey, we're giving you the space, do that. The reason I think this is a good move is you want to build up favors with the United States. Hell, maybe remove all tariffs from DR. That would be a concession so that you can ask for something later. Trump wrote Art of the Deal. He's going to get what he wants. Don't get me wrong, as is the US. But it doesn't mean that he's not going to give something as well. To what extent, to what level, no idea. But I think it's a smart move in that regard. Second thing is, if you're going to be a partner with the United States, you may as well be the model partner. You're either in or out, right? You're either with them or you're kind of against them. So if you're going to be their guy, if you're going to be one of their partners in the region, then the fact that one of the top 5 guys in the biggest government in the world, and the most powerful government in the world, decided I need to make a trip and meet face to face with the president there to ask for something from him, as opposed to making a phone call, it says something about the bilateral relations between the two countries. It says that DR is saying, hey, look, we are on the track toward being a fully developed nation. We're hosting the Summit of the Americas, which they postponed from December to sometime in 2026 because of all this conflict in the region. We don't want to be branded as soft on drugs. We don't want to be branded as a cartel state. While corruption will always reign in any political system, and no different in the Dominican Republic, I think many politicians here, Abinader at the top of this, at least has a sense that legitimacy brings a lot of money too. To him, to his country, to his constituents, to his lobbyists. So partnering with the US, opening up the lines of communication on all the things that I've talked about, semiconductors, defense, Haiti, travel advisories, etc., is the right move. DR is a small country. It is what it is. It's not going to rule the world. You don't have leverage here, so I'd rather be in the good graces of the most powerful country in the world. You could say I'm wrong. I completely respect that. And I know historically that is a dangerous potential way of thinking, especially in Latin America. And I don't mean at all to dismiss that or come across as insensitive to that. I'm literally, I was born like this. I can only share my perspective. In a perfect world, everybody would be out of conflict. Everything would be great. We wouldn't have drugs ruining people's lives. We wouldn't need militaries. We wouldn't have countries intervening in other countries' politics. We wouldn't have the CIA out there doing what the CIA does. But it's not a perfect world. Not here, not there, not anywhere. We don't know what happened in the back room of the discussion with the Secretary of War and the President of DR. It could very well be, hey, look, Mr. President, we can do this one of two ways. Either we're going to post things up here and you're going to agree to it because what leverage do you really have? Or we can make it really hard on you. You see what we're doing everywhere. Very well could have been the discussion. The other discussion, and I'm hopeful for this, is more like, we need your help. We appreciate you as a partner. We want to stand up with you more against narco trafficking and narco terrorism. We've already got some things set up in partnership, like rare earth materials, some commitment on semiconductors that you're starting to see at the Punta Cana Logistics Hub, supporting the UN resolution for assistance with Haiti, and we can go further with different concessions or different ways to support you more, Dominican Republic. I hope that was the discussion. I'll lean on that. Not going to bank on it, but I hope that was the discussion. Because whatever's going to come is going to come. I mean, look, the use of the phrase narco-terrorism alone gives the United States president and his cabinet a lot of leeway to take action outside of Congress. You don't need a declaration of war if you've labeled some places as terrorist organizations. It's very strategic by the US. They're going to do what they're going to do. DR standing up and saying, no, we're not going to be part of this. That's just not politically or strategically a smart move, in this guy's opinion. One of the rules I have for this community of you, all of you and me, is argue the point, not the person. That doesn't just mean me. Don't get personal with me, but more don't get personal with each other. One thing culturally about DR that I've learned since moving here is you can have debate without personalizing it. And I would love for that to be part of what we have here, whether you're American, European, Canadian, fully Dominican, part Dominican, whatever. Let's keep that clean, but robust. Let's hear it down below. If this content resonates with you at all of what I share on this channel, I would love for you to subscribe. Every time somebody subscribes here or follows on any other platform, every one of those people I donate money to Second Mile Missions to end trafficking and poverty here in the Dominican Republic. Last month we donated almost $300 thanks to you just hitting buttons. If you want to see what I talked about before this press conference, the old live is right here. You can jump in on that and take a look, and I'll see you on the next one.